the utterly fascinating world of economic systems. This year, my teacher in world history class gave us our study guides for the test and asked us to do our very best over the weekend to understand the different concepts of economic systems across countries around the world. He then played a video for us to explain better. However, me being the nerd that I am, I realized that in his video, as well as many others that he played across the year, the words communism and socialism were used interchangeably. I asked him about it afterwards, and he remembered and recognized that the two were actually separate and different ideas. He then apologized before explaining what they were and what the differences were. It took a lot of time and a little bit of research to get a grasp on the topic, but I did it so that you don't have to. I was weirded out by all the people who seemed to think that only one pure socio-economic system was the key to solving all of Earth's problems, and that everything else was satanic goat worship that wanted to take our guns. Spoiler alert, the way things may be portrayed by those around you isn't always based in reality. So here are the main points, as I understood them, from each of the three major socio-economic systems. I feel like socialism gets a bad rep, and is probably the most misunderstood economic system that we're going to cover today. So let's define it real quick. Socialism, as defined by Webster, is a stage of society in Marxist theory transitional between capitalism and communism, and is distinguished by the unequal distribution of goods and pay according to work done. If that sounds like a bunch of jibber-jabber, it basically means that socialism, or at least the form of socialism that we're discussing today, is between capitalism, the free market, and communism, a state-controlled economy. It's basically middle ground. The government provides the people with services, but people own nationalized resources and institutions. Democratic thought and practice is preserved, as well as many aspects of capitalism. Now that we have that out of the way, let's get into what each system has to offer. Woohoo! So much fun. This is why I'm not invited to parties. Democratic socialism benefits those who prioritize the power of the worker and the public, not just the government, especially the lower class, who truly benefit from the government's subsidies. Socialism is really appealing to those who prioritize lifestyle and common welfare. Although they might not earn a ridiculous amount of money, those who live in socialist economies get to enjoy a well-managed environment, as well as government-subsidized services such as education, unemployment benefits, and healthcare. And on top of that, they seem to work fewer hours on average than countries with more capitalistic policies in place, according to data from the OECD. Socialism is really appealing for those who are willing to pay more in taxes to receive more in lifestyle, also known as better healthcare, education, etc. Citizens in these democratic socialist countries seem to be happier overall, despite paying incredibly high taxes and being less personally wealthy on average. Democratic socialism is appealing to those who consider private ownership, equal opportunities, and free thought necessary to a healthy government and marketplace, i.e. Finland, Sweden, Denmark, etc. And that's the meat of socialism. Obviously, I left out some things for the sake of time, but it really is an interesting topic that I recommend learning even more about if you are willing to dig through the metaphorical internet dirt that is misinformation about the whole topic. Man, the Red Scare really blurred everything together. That brings us to communism. Most people already have a general idea of what communism is and what it looks like. This one, fortunately, seems to be much more straightforward. Communism is basically supposed to be the final stage of Marxist theory, in which the state shrinks away, economic goods are split up equitably, and that advocates for the total elimination of private property. The biggest problem with this, however, is that more often than not, it becomes, as stated by Webster, and I quote, a totalitarian system of government in which a single authoritarian party controls state-owned means of production. Geez, with that kind of definition, it can be hard to believe that people actually wanted this and still want it. But it actually makes sense in a variety of ways when you think about it. Because many people that are invested in communist thought desire security, both economic and militaristic, from allies. It also directly recruits people of lower income into hoping for a more just society that they believe has wronged them. These are the people who strive for pure equality, which is different from equal opportunity. Some of these supporters even admire the incredibly strong government that communist regimes often take on. Some even consider totalitarian central government necessary, i.e. China, the Soviet Union, and North Korea, supporting their patriotic citizens who are also under 24-hour surveillance. And finally, ladies and gents, the moment that all of us patriots have been waiting for. Let's get into capitalism! Capitalism, for all of you who didn't know, is the system used in our very own US of A. It has been championed around the world for good reason, and like every other economic system, it has its pros and cons. Capitalism, in its nature, appeals to those who desire optimized personal and individual profit. It is based on the private or corporate ownership of capital goods, built by the competition of the free market, and is corporatized and is characterized by investments that can influence private decisions, giving individual capitalists power. For those who prioritize growth and power, military, and wealth, i.e. war in Iraq/Iran, China's imperialistic expansion throughout the Pacific, and corporations like the NRA with a strong pull in domestic politics, exhibiting capitalistic characteristics are the way to go. America didn't magically become super strong and rich overnight, you know. Capitalism is a great playing field for those who desire status, political reverence, and greater buying power. In the global and national markets, capitalism is also really good at keeping talent and incentivizing markets to invest at home, since it sports low taxes, market freedom, and the invisible hand of competition that guides the free market. And that's it! Remember that these economic systems are not all used in black and white, and are often mixed together by countries to get the best result. There is no such thing as purely capitalistic society, nor purely communist or socialist society. The US, France, and Germany, for example, have mixed economic systems between capitalism and socialism to allow government intervention for the public good. And there's no such thing as true communism, so many countries like China add market aspects resembling capitalism to the economy, leading to market growth. Even mostly socialist countries like Finland, Sweden, and Norway are great at balancing capitalism and democratic socialism in a way that works for them. I learned a long time ago that in life, things are almost never black and white. More like just different shades of gray. I found this topic interesting and I hope that you did too. Sorry that I haven't posted in a little while. I was on vacation. But I'm back now, so expect a whole lot of me from now on. And until then, this has been The Real G, and I will see you next time.